Sharon, are you there?
Everybody's muted.
Okay.
We're live. Go.
Hi, this is Jesse Jackson Jr. on WKBLA Talk 1580. I'm broadcasting live, and I wanted to welcome everyone to our show this evening. Let me first begin by saying this has been an extraordinary news day, a day that we're not going to be able to get behind us very, very quickly. And I'm honored that in the first hour, Sharon Reed is going to be my guest. Sharon is an actress, producer, Emmy Award-winning host, known for her thought-provoking interview style. She has an extensive background and substantial work as a news anchor and correspondent in Atlanta, Miami, Philadelphia, St. Louis, and Cleveland. She's known for landing exclusive interviews. Sharon, welcome to KBLA Talk 1580. Sharon?
Hi. Thank you, first and foremost, for having me. And you are correct. This is a huge news day, so I look forward to getting into it.
Sharon, let me start with Jordan Neely. The Jordan Neely case, as you well know, the jury is now meeting on this subway case where the young man was choked to death by a citizen who claimed to be defending the crowd on the bus, on the train, if you will, against this homeless individual. What are your thoughts about the case?
Yeah, regular George Zimmerman, it appears that he believes he did nothing wrong, but the word that comes to mind is ugly. All this time later, Jesse, I cannot unsee portions of the footage. Remember, I haven't looked at all of it deliberately, but it is ugly, it is sick, it is vile that no one said enough already. That shows you the value of people of color in greater society. So my hope is that they'll get it right, but already with the pretrial publicity, the deliberate attempts to paint the accused as something stellar and in no way violent, as I view him and others I believe do, they're up against it.
What are your thoughts about how Jordan Neely has moved from being the victim in this particular case to being criminalized by the system and criminalized even by the public?
Well, it reminds me of George Floyd, of course. Look what was done there. Somehow an alleged $20 bill that may or may not have been, counterfeit is a death sentence carried out by a jury of one. I saw the same thing in Ferguson. I was on the ground when Mike Brown was suddenly the demon presented. We had a prosecutor there who presented to the grand jury a set of facts that you have to wonder. I thought we thought grand juries could indict a ham sandwich, but suddenly all the evidence was against the victim, the deceased, instead of the accused, the officer, Darren Wilson. So I am used to this in America. I hate to even say that, sometimes they would give us news stories and you read it and you're supposed to tell the public, and this was a kid with good grades, and this was someone, who didn't struggle. None of that should matter. A kid with horrific grades should not be shot dead. So we've lost our way. Narration, storytelling, I know that as a journalist, it's everything. It shapes the way we feel about other people, how we look at circumstances. It's the most powerful tool, media, that there is on earth.
After the verdict is read, whether guilty or not guilty, we usually anticipate that there is some kind of reaction. We all saw the George Floyd reaction after his murder, and the verdict was determined by a court and a jury of the officer's peers. What do you think we can expect from the Jordan Neely verdict, obviously in the context of the Biden administration, and what kind of reaction to such a case takes place under Donald Trump do you think we can expect?
I think we know what to expect under Donald Trump. I'll take the back end first. What we can expect is something that is probably vile, because the best way to look at that is look at what he's done in the past. Under the current president, only one president at a time, Joe Biden, I hope that he feels emboldened, empowered enough to allow for people to protest. And by the way, peaceful
I think I've lost Sharon.
Yeah, sorry, we lost Sharon for a second.
Okay. Well, Sharon was sharing with us that there is usually a reaction at the end of these cases, whether the community shows up in great numbers to express its anger towards the jury, or whether there is a reaction from the public that under a Joe Biden administration, the president, the attorney general, even the governor of the state of New York may show up and make statements about justice has been served or justice has not been served. But on the other hand, that's one context with Joe Biden as president. But under Donald Trump, we saw what his reaction was when the George Floyd verdict was rendered. He walked across the street, to remind you, holding a Bible in his hand. He threatened to impose martial law in some communities where the activity was taking place. We saw Kyle Rittenhouse show up with his guns and armed vigilantes, at least from my perspective, and certainly the news accounts. Someone came all the way from Wisconsin to Minnesota with their weapon, and they were ultimately set free by a jury. And so we can expect some kind of reaction, some kind of sentiment, some kind of feeling from the people about what happens when this verdict is rendered. And I hope the president of the United States will be back in the country to help play the role that a president should, a consoler in chief, or someone who at least acknowledges that there is faith in the criminal justice system, when in fact that's exactly where we ultimately could be. And so we do have a technical problem. Sharon Reed will be joining us in a few moments. I want to ask her some questions about her thoughts on the Hunter Biden pardon and what it represents for the 77 million men and women who've paid their debt to society, who've spent time in jail, who are hoping in the last 48 days of the Biden administration that he may show favor upon their lives, grant them the same kind of language and the same kind of life that he granted for his son. So it is our sincere hope that when we come forward, we will have Sharon Reed to continue our conversation.
Please bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580. Are you an entrepreneur looking to take your business to new heights? KBLA Talk 1580 is your partner in success. Every day, we celebrate and elevate Black-owned businesses across our community. Our KBLA SMB Marketplace currently features The Cookie Dip, Badass Bakes, Hair Concoction, Higher Education Accreditation Consulting, LACC Radiology Technology Department, and Malik Books. Your business deserves to be heard. Let KBLA Talk 1580 amplify your voice and connect you with our powerful community of listeners. Email smb@kbla1580.com today. That's smb@kbla1580.com. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
We're with Bridget, whose husband won't be home for months, and whose daughter is due any day. We're with Mike, who's leaving home to protect his family and yours. We're with all service members and their families who need community, connection, and maybe a bit of magic. Are you with them? Learn more at uso.org today.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online. I read that 3 out of 4 adults in the United States have a high risk factor for severe COVID-19. And Black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. LA County's new Justice Care and Opportunities Department, or JCOD, is here to support justice-involved individuals and their families. The JCOD Support Center is now taking calls at 1-833-LACJCOD. That's 1-833-522-5263. Available 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., the Support Center is your one-stop shop for re-entry issues and court support. They offer court reminders, connections to local services, transportation assistance for housing, court appearances, and childcare. The JCOD hotline provides personalized help to connect you with services that you need. And don't forget to check out justiceconnect.org for more information. Remember, it's free and available every day at 1-833-522-5263. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more of Jesse.
Talk 1580. We were discussing Jordan Neely and the fact that his jury is out, and we are waiting word from the jury as to whether or not Daniel Penny will be found innocent or guilty. On May 1st, 2023, Jordan Neely, a 30-year-old homeless man, died after a 24-year-old Marine named Daniel Penny put him in a chokehold. Neely boarded a New York City subway train at the 2nd Avenue station just before it departed and began screaming that he was hungry and needed a job, saying that he was not afraid of going to prison and he was ready to die, and threatening people. Freelance journalist Juan Alberto Vasquez, who witnessed the incident, said that Neely removed his jacket and threw it violently to the floor, resulting in other passengers moving away from him. Vasquez said that he did not see Neely assault anyone. Other witnesses reported fearing death from Neely's actions, including him throwing trash at other passengers and approaching people. Penny then approached and maintained a hold after the train had reached the next stop on Broadway Lafayette Street, while other passengers held the doors open to prevent it from moving. During the chokehold, some bystanders gave warnings on Neely's health, with one telling Penny, "You're gonna kill him now," while others helped in holding him down until the police arrived. Vasquez captured the final 3 minutes of the hold on video, which shows Penny applying it for nearly a minute after Neely had stopped struggling and gone limp. Prosecutors alleged that the chokehold lasted for 6 minutes, while Penny said it lasted less than 5 minutes. An unknown amount of time after Penny released Neely, New York City Police Department officers arrived, with responding officers stating that Neely had a faint pulse upon their arrival. Neely was given Narcan and CPR by officers at the scene. Shortly thereafter, the New York City Fire Department transported Neely to a hospital where he was pronounced dead. Penny was taken for questioning by the New York Police Department and released without charges several hours later. The incident obviously sparked national and international attention. And I raised this question with our guest, the question of the climate, because under the Biden administration, we know the commander of the Army and repriever pardner, the person who functions in the lineage of David for the American people, the president of the United States, has a soothing tone, a calming tone. He has a tone that brings people together, whether a defendant is found innocent or guilty. And I don't think we can expect that in the Trump administration. And so he will definitely take sides in this matter. He may, the new president, encourage vigilantism. And it's not just that we will react to a verdict. It's just that other Americans exercising their civil liberties, their right to protest, their right to redress their grievances, could also very well become victims of crimes in the midst of those protests. We saw it with Kyle Rittenhouse in the George Floyd case. We've seen it in other parts of the country where this spirit of meanness and madness not only emanates from the top, it's perpetuated by the top. It manifested itself in an unprecedented riot, insurrection at the Capitol of the United States. And we need to prepare ourselves for 48 days from now, when the next president of the United States will not have the same moral tone or the same moral authority, but will definitely take sides when these critical cases and these critical tests that often threaten our democracy come before the American people. The incident, as I said, sparked public debate nationwide as politicians and members of the public offered differing reactions to Penny's actions, including support and criticism. Critics of Penny joined protest and characterized him as a vigilante, demanded that Penny be charged, and alleged racism. Supporters of Penny defended him as a good Samaritan, seeking to protect other passengers, and donated money to his legal defense. Neely's death was ruled a homicide by compression of the neck on May 4th. On May 11th, Penny was charged with second-degree manslaughter. Penny turned himself into police the next day and was released on bond. On June 14th, he was formally indicted by a grand jury, and additional charges, criminal negligent homicide, was added on June 28th. Penny pleaded not guilty to both charges. If convicted, Penny could face up to 20 years in prison. Two men shown in Vasquez's video helping Penny restrain Neely were not charged. Penny's trial began with jury selections on October 21st, 2024, and we stand and sit waiting to hear about this verdict, as it most definitely will dominate the news from the East Coast all the way to. The other issue that I want to continue our discussion on when our guest returns is the issue of presidential pardons. We have spent now almost 2 days, 3 days, 4 days discussing presidential pardons on the scale that our community needs them to happen. Think about it. 77 million men and women have paid their debt to society in full. Their names are not being mentioned on ABC, NBC, or CBS. They're not being mentioned on MSNBC or CNN. They're bus drivers, they're cab drivers, they're people all across our country who work the third shift. They can't get a traditional 9-to-5 job because they have a felon on their neck. They have an F right in the middle of their forehead. And every time they have to check the box, and in some states, every time they try and go and vote, someone reminds them one more time of a crime that they committed many, many years ago. And yet, the presidential pardon process and the gubernatorial pardon process eludes them. I want to talk about this issue in greater measure, in part because when one thinks about the fact that we have borne the burden of mass incarceration and there are 48 days left in Joe Biden's administration, that we should expect more than just the pardon of a presidential son. We expect from our president, the president that we supported, the president that we voted for, we expect the president of the United States to see our sons, to see our daughters, to see those who are not celebrities or rich and famous. Mm-hmm. Sharon, I want to welcome you back to our program.
Yeah, I apologize for the technical difficulties there, but I came back just in time to listen to a little bit of that. And I couldn't agree more. I don't know who's advising President Biden, who at this point doesn't have much to lose. He's got his legacy. It's all, again, about the storytelling, Jesse. If I were advising him, I would have told him weeks and weeks and perhaps months ago, let's get ready for the end of your presidency. And I want to see a wave, thousands and thousands of African Americans, Black people, pardoned. And then I want another wave right after Thanksgiving. And I want you to keep going every single week until the last day of your presidency. And yes, I understand that Hunter Biden was up for sentencing, I believe, on December 12th. So it's looming. But at the end of the day, your son is no more important than ours. And I support it. If that were my son, I would have pardoned him as well and really explained myself, but made no apologies for it. I think it is a political situation. But hey, I can't feel for a privileged young white man who has run afoul, who has substance abuse issues that We've learned, according to the family he's overcome, I can't root for him and be protective of him when there are so many others who every day are getting just the rawest of the deals. So I think it's a mistake that you go with that, you put out a statement, Hunter, Hunter, Hunter. What about everybody else? He can still do this, and he should do it now.
In the last 2 weeks, we've seen one hunter and 2 turkeys pardoned.
That's right.
And there are two Americans somewhere, preferably and hopefully in our community. But the fact of the matter is 77 million people, Sharon, you understand the facts, how broad the nature of the problem of felonization is in America. I'm one of the 77 million. So I know exactly what this experience is like. When I got out of prison, I refused to fill out a pardon application. I felt that millions of Americans deserved the right to be forgiven before I did. I had just gotten out of prison. They told me that if I ever wanted a pardon, I had to wait 5 years based on a Justice Department rule in order to fill out a pardon application and then apply. And then when I heard that Hunter Biden's pardon and consideration, while I supported, just like you do, if I were president of the United States, of course I would pardon my son. But there's this other process over here to the pardon attorney's office. And the pardon attorney said, we knew nothing of the Hunter Biden pardon, meaning he didn't have to fill out an application. He didn't have to show contrition. He didn't even have to do a day in jail because of the unfettered nature of the pardon power in Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 of the Constitution. At some point in time, I wake up every morning for the next 48 days, wondering if I and millions of others will be one of the saints who go marching in. I do want to ask you this question. I did an analysis between the Nixon-Ford language in 1974 and the Hunter Biden language that his father gave him in 2024. And the language is exactly the same, meaning that there is a new standard for forgiveness, 2 data points in the United States where Richard Nixon's life matters, Hunter Biden's life matters. I want the same language in my life. The mayor of Atlanta, former Mayor Bill Campbell, needs that language in his life. Kwame Kilpatrick, the mayor of Detroit, needs that language in his life. Marcus Garvey needs that language posthumously in his life. Harold Washington, and so many scores of others. I think we have an obligation to demand that what's good for the goose is good enough for the gander. That Joe Biden, if you feel this way about your son, love your neighbor as yourself, love other sons the way you loved your son.
We got you the presidency. Black people got you the presidency. Remember South Carolina? Remember Representative Clyburn? Remember all of that? He was dead last, and that was the last stance. But you mentioned all of these people, yourself included, who I believe are deserving.
Marilyn
and they
Mosley.
need that.
Marilyn Mosley.
Of course. But I want to say this. We need you. We need these people to be free and clear of this weight. It is appropriate. What is society missing out on by not doing this? I think greatly from those who are in hiding, if you will, from mainstream society, have shame for some reasons. All of it needs to go. What is good for Hunter must be good for far more people who look like us, accomplished people, people who have work to do and things left undone. It is, you're working me up. This has to happen. And I think we still have an opportunity to push this president in his remaining days in this direction. We should still do it. I don't want to hear about a library. I don't want to hear about a legacy. I don't want to see another speech in Angola. I want you to do this now. That's what matters. We know what the justice system has done to so many people. Injustice. And it's certainly not fairness across the board when people have done something that needs to be reckoned with. This must be accomplished before he leaves office.
I think that that the standard now for human rights has been raised because of this language, this unconditional, absolute, full, and complete pardon. And if he were going to do a mass pardon, Sharon, and I'm hearing a lot of talk about a mass pardon that Joe Biden may be considering, I find it interesting that his son is not part of the mass pardon, which means those that he might pardon in mass are going to get a different pardon language than the free, absolute, full pardon that he gave his son that is comparable to Nixon. Does that raise any concerns for you?
It does. It raises concerns, but it also cements what we already know is true in America today, true in America tonight, that Hunter's life and Hunter's existence is superior to others. We need to just say the quiet part out loud. This has always been the case in America. Stop uttering one nation under God. Stop uttering justice for all. It's not true. But we can begin to climb the mountain and right the ship. And yes, the language we should demand should be the same. What's the risk? There are risks to his own son. God forbid if he falls off the wagon or comes afoul again of the law. There are risks for Hunter. And so it's time to take a chance on people who have done, many of them, so little in comparison and received such harshness from America and our court system.
When we come forward, we will be back with Emmy Award-winning journalist Sharon Reed.
You're on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Tyreek Wynn with 4 things you should know from BIN News. The Virginia Department of Corrections is denying recent reports that inmates have set themselves on fire at the Red Onion State Prison in Wise County. The Virginia Legislative Black Caucus announced that at least 12 inmates have set themselves on fire in response to the degrading and inhumane conditions at the prison. Disgraced rapper Sean Diddy Combs is facing yet another lawsuit. A woman named Brianna Bogelin filed the paperwork in California this week, suing Combs for sexual battery, false imprisonment, and other abuses. New York City is expanding its program that connects students to career opportunities. Mayor Eric Adams, who's Black, announced the Future Ready NYC Mentorship Career Program, starting in its 36 additional schools, bringing the total to 135. Two comedy greats are uniting off the big screen. Eddie Murphy's son and Martin Lawrence's daughter got engaged over the Thanksgiving holiday. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 at BINnews.com.
A crash in Ontario right now. It's on the 10 eastbound at Milligan. That's causing some slowing back to 4th Street. After that, you will be slow through to Bloomington, but does open up into the Colton area in San Bernardino. The westbound side of that freeway is wide open right now as you head past the 57 points west. 210 looking about the same. The eastbound side is a mixed bag of slowing and heavy traffic between San Dimas and the 15. After that, it's not too bad, just some slowing into San Bernardino. On the westbound side, looking good as you head into the Los Angeles area.
Only at Lowe's, MVP's Pro Rewards members can get a volume discount on eligible orders as low as $1,500. Discount on eligible products only and reflected in quote. Restrictions apply. See Pro Desk for details. MVP's Pro Rewards program subject to terms.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Tiger Woods said he's not close to being physically ready to return to the PGA Tour. The 48-year-old Woods has been battling a variety of injuries since he was seriously hurt in a car crash near LA in 2021. Tiger suffered major damage to his right foot and right leg. The 15-time major champion revealed he had surgery on his back in September. Tiger has had 6 back surgeries during the later years of his career. Tiger was limited to only 5 PGA events in 2024. He missed the cut on 3 of them and finished 60th at the Masters. The Clippers are going for their 8th straight home win tonight. They play Portland at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. Houston Texans linebacker Azeez Al-Shaair was given a 3-game suspension by the NFL for his violent hit Sunday on Jacksonville quarterback Trevor Lawrence. The suspension will cost Al-Shaair $265,000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, y'all, come on.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah. Gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it. Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power. Fight the power.
You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580, where climate is king. Climate is king.
Tips to help improve basic steps for building a budget in 2024. Building a budget can help you achieve and reach your financial goals. With a budget, you can keep track of your spending, avoid and get out of debt, limit overspending, pay bills on time, and build solid savings habits. What's the best way to get started? Figure out how much to set aside for expenses like rent, mortgage, bills, groceries, and entertainment. Understanding your past financial habits can help you make the proper adjustments for your budget. Adjusting to a budget can take time as you work to find the right balance, but keep working on it. For more financial health tips, visit chase.com or stop by a local branch. This segment is sponsored by JP Morgan Chase & Company.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from K.
On KBLA Talk 1580, I'm very proud and very excited to have Sharon Reed, Emmy Award-winning host, journalist, on our show. Sharon, you're a journalist. You study the news. What in the last several days has stuck out to you as something profound, deep, and worthy of discussion?
I think well, let's talk politically, right? Because it's still dominating the news cycle. To me, what has stood out is the same inside baseball game and the same people asking their intimate friends the same questions out loud, leaving the rest of us out of the conversation. One of the things that I think made me a better journalist, and I always got the same thing when I would run into the public, it's like you're talking right to me. And I never felt weird when I went into different communities because I loved to talk to people, but I loved to listen more. And when I spent time in Ohio, the Midwest, St. Louis, I may not have enjoyed the weather in those places, but it made me so much better. What I see and hear are people doing this postmortem on the election, and they're still not getting it. They're electing a new leader at the DNC, and they're trying to explain that they're doing the heavy lift. I don't know that you can elect anyone. I don't know that you can elect anyone until you really do that deep dive listening tour and get real with people or allow them to get real with you. I think it's called sensibility. That's the word. Why don't you tell me what went wrong if you keep striking out instead of me dictating to you? So it's something that I think is compelling as I listen to those who really believe they're in touch, good people, many of them, making the rounds on cable, who think they have it all tied up. But that's the problem, Jesse. They have it all tied up. They're at the same cocktail parties. They have the same friends. They live, most of them, in the same locations, and they want to belong to this exclusive club. What it does, though, is puts the blinders on you, and you can't see beside yourself, past yourself. One of the things I always did when I had stories, any kind of content, is I would hand it to someone else, and I would ask for a brutal response, because your eyes can't see everything. And you need to, even if you don't like what you're hearing, I think I'm better off when I get to at least hear it, let it marinate, consider it.
You know, my father ran for president in 1984 and 1988. And yet in 2024, they were still honoring Jesse Jackson at the Democratic Convention. Why is that? It's because he never stopped. He didn't run in 1992 or 96 or 2000 and beyond, but Jesse Jackson never backed away from the accomplishments, the coalition politics that we brought to bear, so much so that the Democratic Party really did celebrate Jesse Jackson with the nomination of Kamala Harris in 2024. In this moment, as I'm talking to an Emmy Award-winning Black journalist who's a female, we won something, even though we lost the presidency. We won the DNC. We won the fact that the strongest voting bloc in the Democratic Party are African-American women. Don't let them tell you any differently. And while we watch white men now run for chairman of the DNC, suggesting that we've done something wrong or that we couldn't get elected, I can imagine that women similarly situated in your profession and at every level of progressive politics who are African-American have to be asking themselves the question, wait a minute, this is our party. I mean, Gretchen Whitmer can't get past this party, the one that you all won. Gavin Newsom can't get past this party. J.B. Pritzker, all of these names that they're mentioning about 2028, the postmortem, that Black women didn't do it, they can't get to victory in 2028 or 2032 without you. I am encouraging Black women to assert themselves and to assert the thing that they did win in 2024. They won the respect of the country, and they did win the Democratic Party. Your thoughts?
And they shouldn't let it go. They should take over the party because it's their rightful place. If Black women, as you pointed out, have accomplished this and been the most loyal, dedicated servants to the Democratic Party, why wouldn't it be ours? There is no other race out there who wouldn't claim it. And I'm not putting the pressure on us, but I do agree with you. Let's get after it. We know we can organize. We know how gifted and bright and compelling and assertive we are. This is our party. I had a conversation with a friend the other day, and I said, so do you consider this Kamala's party? Like, whose party is it? It seems like these conversations and the people you mentioned, Gretchen and Pritzker and all of them, Shapiro too, are being considered by, again, this inside game. No. And I believe the only reason Kamala Harris ended up with a nomination was the perfect storm. The timing, perhaps that first family that frequents the West Coast who put their thumb on the scale and said, nah, you're not about to do what you're going to do, regardless of what Gavin Newsom and others were behind the scenes trying to do. She's battle tested, the VP, she earned it. I heard Carville on, and I like James Carville today talking about how they should have had an open process. What on earth are you smoking? She was the VP, okay? And look when they allowed her to claim what should have been hers. The final moment, the 11th hour, 90 days, something like that. And oh, by the way, my people stay in place and they have these jobs and you're supposed to run a campaign kind of straddling all of that. So yeah, Black women need to step up, stop supporting. And I don't mean turn our backs on the party. I mean, we're not to be in a supporting role anymore, Jesse. We're the leaders of this party.
There is no doubt about it. And it is just a function of leadership, I think, because there are women in the party like Leah Daughtry and when I think about Mignon Moore and Yolanda Caraway, the colored girls who came out of the Jesse Jackson organization and
Yep.
put on the most amazing Democratic convention we've ever seen. I mean, you can't push these people aside. When Jesse Jackson ran in 84 and 88, it led to Ron Brown becoming the chairman of the Democratic National Committee. It laid the foundation for Bill Clinton to become president and Ron Brown to become Secretary of Commerce. And so Kamala Harris has a lot to say about the future of the Democratic Party. She has the largest and most viable fundraising list of any Democrat statewide in the history of presidential politics. She has an organization in all 50 states. It obviously needs to be expanded to red counties and to red areas with a messaging, but beyond messaging, and political consultants who are trying to figure out an engagement from Democrats who say they stand for the working poor to actually knowing the working poor and living with the working poor. And, if you will, some of the politics of Fetterman, who seems to have some a connection to working class folk in Appalachia, or Sherrod Brown. He lost his Senate seat in Ohio. I was honored to serve with him in the Congress of the United States. But the fact of the matter is these guys are really connected to their constituencies. And they really do represent the foundation, I believe, of a new Democratic Party going forward. We're going to have to do better. Black women are in the driver's seat of the Democratic Party. And the consequences of this election are not just political. They are in your profession. They are in every corporate boardroom. They are in every major institution of academia. Whether or not we respect Black women and come to terms with some of the issues for why we did not vote in this campaign, we are going to continue this cycle until we get it right. When we come forward, we'll be joined again with Sharon Reed, who has some profound thoughts to share about the future of our nation and the Democratic Party.
You up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This season, Chevy brings classic pairings, cookies and milk, mistletoe and kisses, and your holiday plans and a new Chevy. Silverado 1500 gives you power and capability with 430 pound-feet of torque to haul your holiday tree. The Equinox EV and all-new Equinox, America's best compact SUV for new vehicle quality by J.D. Power, offer both confidence and style to see you through the holiday season. It's easy to see why Chevy makes everything better and brighter. Find your red tag. Get 0% APR financing for 36 months on select popular Chevy models when you finance with GM Financial. Chevrolet. Together, let's drive. Award based on 2024 models. For J.D. Power 2024 U.S. Initial Quality Study award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. Offer available on all 2025 Equinox and 2024 Equinox EV, Blazer EV, and Silverado EV models. Monthly payment is $27.78 for every $1,000 you finance. Example down payment is 26.8%. Must finance with GM Financial. Some customers may not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 1/2/25.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
This is Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580. I am joined with my special guest, Sharon Reed. Sharon, is it okay if I call you Sharon?
Of course.
Thank you very much for being my guest, and I hope you are a regular guest on this show. Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware, Angela Also Brooks of Maryland, two young African-American senators, female, elected to the United States Senate at the same time, an unprecedented victory for African-American women, a notable victory against 0 women during first Reconstruction elected to Congress or the Senate, and now during second Reconstruction, that is from Brown versus Board of Education to the present. Of course, we've had Carol Moseley Braun, we've had others who have been appointed to the Senate to fill vacancies, American women who are mainstays in the Senate of the United States. These two women are the future of the Democratic Party. Help me understand what we do going forward.
What we do going forward is give them, just incredible support. I want to see them take over powerful committees and chair powerful hearings. I want to see them on display. And I want it to happen now. I don't want there to be a waiting period. I don't want them to have to be anointed by someone else who's been in Washington 40 years. I want them to walk confidently through the halls of Congress and claim it. Because you know what, Jesse? That's what Matt Gaetz and others did.
That's exactly
not even hardly a shred of qualifications. They not only shouldn't be there, but they should probably be elsewhere, cutting their teeth and getting some tough life lessons at the local level. But that doesn't stop them from sticking their chest out and claiming and threatening and doing whatever they want to do. And while those two women who achieved something that is just remarkable have class, talent, intelligence, and so they don't behave that way, they should go day one, plant a flag, and take it.
Sick and tired of being sick and tired, Fannie Lou Hamer.
That's right.
And they've got some great people to learn from Barbara Lee, from Maxine Waters, from women, Karen Bass, people who've served in the Congress of the United States with great integrity. Cardis Collins, the late Cardis Collins from Illinois, Barbara Jordan out of Texas, in the footsteps of Sheila Jackson Lee. These two women emerge in the tradition of struggle, of sacrifice, and service, and they have an opportunity to also direct the future of the DNC and the future of the party. And I couldn't agree with you more. They shouldn't be waiting in the sides or hiding or trying to find their footing. We need to wrap our arms around them, and we need to wrap our arms around them now. We need to see them on CNN. We need to see them on MSNBC. We need to see them battling on Fox and stand by them while they do, and while they make the case that the urban core has the same needs as the suburban as well as the rural areas in America. They should be invited to all of the conventions to speak, not just the NAACP, not just the Rainbow Coalition, not just the National Action Networks, but to the labor events, to the women's events, to the peace activist events, to the workers' events. They should be heralded for their accomplishments, but also given the opportunity to show unprecedented leadership.
On behalf of all of us, they should proclaim what a woman I look up to would say, reclaiming my time on behalf of all of us. That's what needs to happen and let people know we're not going away. There's this thing that we do, and I know you know it as well, Jesse, where you walk in a room and perhaps there's only a few of us, right? And so you don't want to all congregate together. Forget that. Be proud, be together, be that block of richness and innovation that we need, and help us get it done. And in return, we should offer them unwavering support and confidence and make demands where they're not getting these doors open for them as they should. It's time for new blood anyway. It's
Sharon,
time for new blood.
Donald Trump has promised an unprecedented assault on the media in his second term. And I don't think I've heard a clearer voice than yours. What are your concerns as a Black female journalist in the present environment that Donald Trump is bringing forward, not only in Washington, but at the local level as well?
Well, we're already under attack. And let me say this, in local news, I would sometimes get the question about how come there's not more Black men anchors? And I went to school at Georgetown, so I was in DC. I saw Jim Vance. I went to Northwestern for grad school, so I saw strong Black men. Having said that, though, there is a formula, and Black women are under attack, okay? You have one Joy Reid, and her ratings are terrific and beating some of the others who are on that cable network, right? But at the end of the day, one is not enough. And what I fear is there was a lot of flap about a certain married anchor couple host of a morning show on cable who went down to Mar-a-Lago.
Mm-hmm.
And after all they said, and hey, I think access is important, Jesse. And I think keeping an open mind and weighing a set of facts as a journalist is important. But when you are active in this disinformation and you are threatening to destroy, guard against the very democracy, imperfect democracy that we live in, and you go to his setting, sit at his table and say, we didn't agree on everything. I'd like to know what you did agree on, because Black people in media don't have that access. I don't see us being invited to Mar-a-Lago or even having the decision of whether we should go or not. So my fear is that Donald Trump is going to do what he's always done, create chaos, absolute chaos that distorts history. I love it when you talk about your father and you give us these teaching moments or reminders, if you will, about recent and past history, because there's so many people, intelligent people out there who do not know the history. And if you don't know it, you are so susceptible to this current state of affairs that is actually fake news.
Sharon, I watched April Ryan get disrespected by Donald Trump. And this could very well be a new era of disrespect of Black women journalists who are at the top of their professions. How do you handle Donald Trump? How do you prepare to handle Donald Trump as a Black woman and a female journalist?
I check my emotions at the door. I was able to interview KKK members, white supremacists, and somehow they didn't necessarily see me as exactly who I am unapologetically. Donald Trump is a bully, and a bully who needs tough questions and who needs eye contact. And no matter if he calls you stupid, as he did Abby Phillips, or asked April Ryan if she could get him a meeting with the Congressional Black Caucus, because, she's Black, and could you have me talk to the late John Lewis, that they need to keep pushing and asking and doing things that oftentimes our counterparts aren't charged with and don't do. They need to be comfortable being called what we're often called: angry, disruptive, combative. It's what it calls for. We have to report the truth, because the minute we forget about it and just wave the white flag, it is actually over. I like the truth. In my personal affairs, my public affairs, I'm good with the truth, because that's the only way that we can get through this thing called life and make a difference, get better, love, all of it.
My father often says that you have to be, as an African American, superior just to be equal. Share with us your thoughts on that. Take us to the top of the hour on KBLA 1580. Sharon?
Your father, the great Jesse Jackson, again, teaching us and holding up a mirror to what life is. We've seen it happen time and time again. The great affirmative action in America, it's not Black people who've been put upon who are trying to get a leg up, just trying to get an opportunity, if you will. The real affirmative action in America are people who really believe they've done this thing, and they couldn't be more wrong. You know, racism hurts all of us. You have people growing up who aren't Black or brown who actually believe they're the best and the brightest. They may be, but how can you know that if you haven't truly been tested? Yes, I've had to fight my way through newsrooms where I'd look around and not ask where somebody went to college. I'd be thinking, did you graduate anywhere? With the things that would be presented that were so elementary and so wrong. I'd push back scripts that would say things like, police are looking for a Black man. They would literally lift it from the police blotter. And I'd say, do you mean the sports guy? Are they looking for him? This is not what we are taught. This is not the way it's supposed to be. And by the way, you're not helping the public when you do things like that. Your father is excellent and right about what he taught us regarding the real affirmative action, that you have to show up, you have to be better, and you're still going to have to face challenges that you don't deserve. It is still existent today. We still see it. I sample cable news and I say, how in the world does this happen? Okay, maybe you got the right agent. I don't know, but you don't belong there, and you can't handle it when the prompter goes dead and real world events are happening live. So like I said, I love it when you talk about the great Jesse Jackson, because what he said years ago and months ago and what he'll say tomorrow, it's all still relevant.
We've been joined on KBLA with Sharon Reed, Emmy Award-winning journalist. We're grateful for your integrity. We're grateful for your clarity. We're grateful for your character. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA 1580, and when we return, we're going to be talking with Dr. Ron Daniels on Haiti and the Haitian immigrant problem when we come forward.